Hi guys, we're back with the last match of the day. Match 3 where, let's not call it the loser bracket, let's call it the second chance bracket, where Alliance and Fnatic will meet once more. Let's hear from reps from both teams. Let's bring up No Tail and S4. Yay! All right, so you guys were undefeated, Alliance, and then, you know, your first loss to VC, what went wrong?
We picked like pre-made lineups, and so they just counterpicked us. And if you pick pre-made lineups, you rely on like winning, winning with that lineup against something you practiced with. And they played some different heroes that we're not used to playing against.
So did you go back and talk to the team, and do you guys think you fixed what went wrong and you'll be able to move forward in the tournament now?
Yeah.
Great. All right, well, Fnatic, you guys are just coming off, you're just coming off a loss, unfortunately. So how are you kind of regrouping, keeping your mind right, and working on this really difficult situation where you have 2 stand-ins?
I think our answer to this is pretty much, what do people want? Like, what do people want to play? And I think that's what we're going to go with. I'm not totally sure. It's a loss. You got to take it as it is. And we know that we could have won one of the games. Like the second game, we had a chance. But we're going to do our best. And we beat Alliance before, so can do it again.
Well, it seems like you guys are at least having a lot of fun over here. Are you guys enjoying the tournament?
Yeah, so much. Like, so much.
Great. Thank you, Demon. That's very helpful. All right. You know, do you have any words for Fnatic? I know they were just saying they have beat you before. So is there anything you want to say to them in challenge?
Yeah, could Demon stop throwing?
Oh, snap!
And any retort?
No, it's we have Demon, you have Jetty. What is there to say? We need to balance it out, you know. Nah, I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, let's settle this on the battlefield. How about that? You guys go ahead and shake hands. Take your seats. Good luck to both of you. And it is back to you, AC and Merlini.
And we're back for our final match of the night, our third best-of-3 Alliance taking on Fnatic in a winner-go-home match, Ben. Well, I mean, let's be honest, they're in the lower bracket for a reason. Both teams have shown some pretty glaring weaknesses throughout play so far. Vici really looked dominant in games 2 and 3, which is amazing, in games 2 and 3 against Alliance, I should say, which is amazing given Alliance really looked dominant in game 1. So, as you know, as we heard him talk about, sometimes you can't just, you have to have some form of unpredictability, whereas on Fnatic's side, I feel like Fnatic maybe has a little bit too much unpredictability right now.
Well, that's the thing. But the Eastern teams don't need unpredictability.
Right.
They just run the same things over and over. But the Western teams need a variety of strategy, which is a little bit strange, I think.
Well, something else that we all in the Dota community love is and need a little bit of, I think, day to day is a little bit of trash talk. And as usual, as has become apparently the norm here at the D2L, we had some of that earlier. We'll take a look at that now.
Fnatic, you're going down.
Shame they included the smile. Takes a little bit of the edge off of it. But if I'm not mistaken, Fnatic had a few words to say back as well.
Bulldog, I'm going to take you down like a bear. You know what, Loda? After tonight, about killing Milky's because she likes to stay with winners.
Of course, Demon, as always. Seems like, what is it, like the 5th time we've had Demon on to talk trash here today? Something like that?
He's the king of trash talk and trolling.
We are.
And throwing.
And throwing, of course. And yeah. So, you know, why you got to be mean, man? We're supposed to be impartial here. What's
Throwing's nice. You're nice to the other team. You give them a win. Come on.
We're getting ready to get underway right now as our first game of this final series is loading in right now. We'll have the draft coming up in just a moment. But again, just to reiterate, this is win or go home. All of these teams fought very hard through our group stage and through the bubble race in the case of Fnatic and in the case of Vici, actually, who has already advanced to our grand finals, or our winners bracket finals, I should say, just one step away from our grand finals. But as we can see, these two teams, Alliance and Fnatic, and, you know, we've talked about it throughout the day. Fnatic leading up to this, leading up to the news, of course, that Era wouldn't be unable to join us, and leading up to the news that Hani, of course, would be grounded and unable to join us as well. Fnatic was considered by many to be a favorite coming into this tournament, as has Alliance. Alliance with, of course, so much LAN experience and LAN success, but here we are. One of these teams goes home after this.
What do you think about the overall like East versus West sort of thing? Because at TI3 we saw West just dominate, and then at EMS we saw Vici take first place, and then now we see 2 Western teams in the lower bracket and the Eastern team in the winners bracket. Do you think that that has reversed, or is just a temporary thing.
I don't think it's a permanent trend. I think you're going to continue to see it. And a big reason that I always kind of held this opinion that whenever it came to TI3, that the West dominated the East as much as they did, is the East was just in a different mindset at that point. The East only wanted their teams to play in very select tournaments. They would go weeks at a time without playing competitive matches. Whereas in the West, there's just such a plethora of tournaments and chances for them to compete. And it's one of the things most professional Dota players will tell you. It's a constant everyday thing. Best of threes in many cases just to participate in all the tournaments they want to play in. And they grinded their way to just having a huge superior edge coming into TI3. Since then, though, there have been a number of things that have shaken that up.
10 seconds remaining.
Release of 6.79. And on top of just the Asian teams getting involved in more tournaments, like the D2L. I mean, you go back, 8, 12 months ago, the idea of the Asians being involved in a long-term tournament like the D2L has been would have been something most would have ruled out. But overall, I feel like the playing field has become much more even, and we're just seeing natural fluctuations now.
I also think a lot of it has to do with Eastern teams actually utilizing some of the things that the Western teams used a lot.
Yep.
Like, they were just so reluctant to try out Wisp for some unknown reason, and I don't think we saw an Eastern team play Wisp at TI3.
No.
And then also Gyrocopter usage too. They're like, oh, that hero sucks, and then everyone started using him just because the hero was ridiculously good at the time. And he's been a little bit nerfed, and he's still really very strong. But I think that the Eastern teams have opened up their hero choices, their play styles, and they become extremely versatile and extremely good at finding out what works for them. And the 5-man strategy that we see Vici and LGD is just so strong. And Alliance and Fnatic, I think this should be a very, very good match. Alliance should be heavy favorites here just because Fnatic, unfortunately, still has 2 stand-ins.
Demon and AUI certainly not slouches, but we did see them struggle in their last series, and this is going to be a back-to-back appearance for Fnatic, so can't underestimate a little bit of exhaustion
Alliance's
might come
turn
into play.
to
Certainly
pick.
a little bit of emotional exhaustion. We had an extended amount of downtime to do a Steam outage.
Fnatic's turn
that has
to
an
pick.
effect on people's psyche. It just does. And Fnatic, though, I mean, again, they have tons of experience across all positions. It's just a matter of can they hurry and get these 5 to gel, or will it simply be the consistency of Alliance that wins out in the end. We can see the bans, and finally a pick out for us to discuss. The Alchemist and Nature's Prophet taken away by Fnatic, and the banning of the dueling Vs in Viscid
10
and
seconds
Venomancer.
remaining.
Those 2 supports eliminated by Alliance. They go ahead and grab the Wisp up for themselves.
5 seconds
Wisp is
remaining.
such a good hero if you can play him well, and both of these teams have fantastic
Fnatic's
Wisp players.
turn to
EGM plays
pick.
the hero extremely, extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
And Fnatic going with the early Enchantress pickup, and this is a very key hero for Fnatic, and I don't believe we've seen them play it today, but it is typically first banned out against them just because of how strong they are with the roaming Enchantress.
Oh, absolutely. And that is something that goes back to their play style going back more than a year. I mean, I can still remember Fnatic's very first appearance as a professional full-time Dota team. It was in
10
the D2L,
seconds
the
remaining.
original season that we ran back then. And all the way back to then, they loved to run the roaming Enchantress.
Alliance's
This time, they're going
turn
to
to
snag up the
pick.
Bristleback to go with it. And we had a brief discussion about Bristleback in general and where the hero really fits in. We've seen already how you can deal with that. You just have to outmaneuver any team that drafts it, make sure he doesn't have a chance to rack up a couple of early kills, do anything you can to keep him underleveled. And there is a chance for him to fall flat on his face, and we did see that before. But with the roaming Enchantress there to begin to create space, to try to put pressure on lanes and give him some room to operate, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Alliance, at least until
turn to
IO gets
ban.
level 6, to put any kind of concerted pressure on. They do go ahead and get a
turn
good
to
roamer of their
ban.
own, though, in the Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, Bristleback, I think he just needs like minimal farm and minimal experience in order to thrive, though. Like he can't get completely zoned out. He just needs like level 7, a couple of bracers, maybe strength treads, magic stick, and then you're good to
10
go.
seconds
And
remaining.
the hero is just ridiculously powerful, especially with the
5
warpath buff. He
seconds
just does so
remaining.
much right click damage. You can't ignore him in the fight. He'll just right click everybody down to death. But
Reserve
also if
time.
you focus him, you just take immense amount of damage from cool spray. So it's a lose-lose situation in that aspect. And I think the best solution is to just keep him hugely under farmed so he's just really easy to kill. Once he gets to that critical mass where if you kill him, you're going to kill yourself, kind of like Spectre with a lot of HP with Dispersion. It just gets really difficult to win any sort of team fight. Crystal Maiden, generally a very squishy hero, but they do need some sort of lockdown with the EO and some sort of early
turn to
aggression just
ban.
because EO is just extremely passive. Actually, well, I'll take that back. In the first game that we saw Alliance play, EO was not used passively at all, and it was in the aggro tri-lane with a tree, with a tusk, and they dominated.
Yep. It was, and it was
10 seconds
That's the thing about an
remaining.
EO. Like, his skill set isn't what it once was with the nerf to tether. No longer a
5
stun, now a
seconds
slow. But if you
remaining.
take that and put it with other slows, such as a Crystal Maiden's Nova, you take it with a fairly decent
Reserve
amount
time.
of lockdown and just 1 point into Frostbite, then you can begin to put together another kind of tri-lane trio that can put some pressure on if they want to. The problem in doing that, though, is Fnatic might be quite happy with that if they can just break even and free up the Bristlebacks and free farm in a one-on-one coming out of the off lane. And that's another
Fnatic's
challenge
turn
you
to
face whenever
ban.
you see an early Bristleback pickup. There's so many ways you can build around him. You can build a tanky kind of a 5-on-5 team fight kind of a team that just wants to go and just do damage and mass AoE. You can even build something like we saw earlier, a mass minus armor strategy. It opens up a lot of possibilities to you. It
10
makes it very hard to
seconds
draft
remaining.
against it.
Early level 1 Roche.
Yeah, exactly. So
5
Fnatic
seconds
and Alliance
remaining.
taking their time moving along so far. We can see Alliance banning out the Bane and the old Dirty. He won't be joining
Reserve
us.
time.
And already Fnatic giving some attention to Io, taking out the Tiny. Don't want to see that pairing. Fnatic will go ahead and snag up a Dragon Knight.
Alliance's
Dragon Knight
turn
is
to pick.
extremely annoying to play against, and especially a well-played one. Like Super just played incredibly well in that Dragon Knight, and it does dissuade a fair amount of picks. I say, like Puck is pretty weak. Queen of Pain, I think, is okay in the laning phase, but past that, she really needs a Linken's or BKB in order to survive in fights. And
Fnatic's turn
yeah,
to
he
pick.
is just pretty difficult to deal with, unless you have a hero like Timbersaw, who does very well versus strength heroes. The armor he does not care at all about.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, like you said, he does well against strength heroes in particular. He has a little bit of pure damage to go with it. Enchantress, of course, has pure damage of her own, so that can be a little bit of a counter to the Timbersaw. But Timbersaw, like you said, has enough armor he generally doesn't care. But everyone has a threshold.
10
We'll see what
seconds
Fnatic wants to tack
remaining.
onto this. Even if they just end up building a medallion on a hero, that could
5
end up being
seconds
enough
remaining.
to confound them a little bit. And, you know, there are always any kind of a hero with any sort of decent
Reserve
silence
time.
actually does fairly well at negating Timbersaw's effect, especially in the mid and late game in terms of what he's able to contribute. But once he tanks up, he's always going to be a liability.
He just does so much damage with or without items too,
Yep.
and he can fare very well in most 1v1 matchups. Surprisingly, Clockwork has been ignored almost like again.
Yeah.
And I usually see him like first or second pick, sometimes banned out very, very early too. He just provides a lot of control, although he does he doesn't tend to win some of his lanes, especially for someone like a Lone Druid or
10
Nature's
seconds
Prophet. He does like
remaining.
okay at best.
Speaking of Lone Druid, that is still available
5
as of right
seconds
now.
remaining.
And Alliance might think about going in that direction. Fnatic, though, they're going to put
Alliance's
together a
turn to
very,
pick.
very strong early push and fight composition. Adding Shadow Shaman to great ways to lock heroes down. Rosta's wards certainly got a buff, and they're very difficult to deal with if you're able to beat your opponent to the positioning. If you're able to get on top of an enemy tower with a Dragon Knight and Elder Dragon form, a Bristleback beginning to circle the tower, and an Enchantress hanging around the back, maybe with an urn, just to keep everyone alive, that's going to be tough to defend
10
under the best of
seconds remaining.
circumstances. Especially right now, Alliance is going to be relying almost entirely on Timbersaw
5
and
seconds
EO
remaining.
+1 as their ways to get into fights. And nice AoE potential coming out, certainly in
Reserve
conjunction with
time.
Crystal Maiden's ultimate. But I feel like Fnatic is, compared to last series in particular, has a much more focused game plan, and they're drafting a fairly well-rounded lineup that nonetheless is going to be excellent at one thing.
And a lot of people tend to pick Lion versus a Timbersaw just because of the Hex, and Timbersaw just gets absolutely destroyed by Hexes and or Silences.
Fnatic's turn
And
to
wow,
ban.
Storm Spirit will be picked into a Shadow Shaman too, so the Hex will be extremely useful versus those two heroes. Unless Shadow Shaman gets jumped on first by Storm Spirit, maybe that's why they picked him, just so they can jump on the Shadow Shaman. I think it's going to be pretty important that he gets a Blink or a BKB at a reasonable pace,
10
or else he's
seconds
just going to
remaining.
constantly die to Alliance. They have repositioning
5
capabilities
seconds
with Storm
remaining.
Spirit, with the EO2. Not sure who they're going to pair up with the EO yet. Options are still open.
Alliance's
CK still
turn to
available.
ban.
They did ban out the Life Stealers, so that's not going to be an option. There are some unorthodox options you can go with in terms of pairing up EO. EO plus Ursa actually has a fairly decent amount of success in the right circumstances, and that could work very well. But if
10
you're talking about
seconds
the abilities
remaining.
that they have to work with it, Crystal Maiden with Frostbite, Timbersaw with Chakram
5
Slow,
seconds
Storm Spirit able to
remaining.
Vortex and hold people relatively in place for a while.
I like Ursa.
Fnatic's turn
I
to
like it.
pick.
I love Io Ursa. You don't see it enough. I feel like it's a lot more effective than people give it credit for. Slarder, another hero that works very well in that situation as well.
Yeah, I think Ursa does really well versus Lifestealer. Versus Dragon Knight and Bristleback, he's like, okay. He's probably going to get kited a lot between getting Goo, Dragon Tailed, and whatnot.
Waiting on the 5th pick from Fnatic, and this should set the tone, one would imagine, based on what we see.
10
I don't know.
seconds
It's hard to
remaining.
call, really, how they're going to run this. I mean, other than the Enchantress quite obviously being in the jungle, they
5
could mix it up here.
seconds remaining.
Offlane Bristleback, farming Dragon Knight, mid-Shadow Shaman. That's something we've seen before. They're going to go ahead and grab a Necrophos. And this is very similar to a
Alliance's
draft we
turn
saw
to
earlier
pick.
tonight that had a ton of success. If I'm not mistaken, it was Vici that drafted a very similar lineup against Alliance, and they're on their way to a 2-1 victory in our first series of the night.
Yeah, was it VG?
I
Or was it
think so.
LGD? I think it was LGD.
Was it LGD?
They tend to run Necrophos a lot more than other teams. I don't remember. We've had a lot of games today.
Yes, we have. And Necrophos, though, certainly going to fit in quite well with this. And there's going to be
10
so much
seconds
regen
remaining.
to keep these heroes on the field when you talk about the passive of Dragon Knight
5
Enchantress with
seconds
Nature's
remaining.
Attendance, especially if she adds an early earn. Necrophos, I would imagine, is going to try to rush
Reserve
him back.
time.
That plus Death Pulse, that is just so hard to shut down. And when you look at Alliance right now, they've got the ability to do some damage, but it's kind of bursty. I mean, Timbersong can certainly hang and bang in a fight for quite some time, but Storm Spirit jumps in, blows the target up, does what he can. Crystal Maiden blows her spells, wants to use her ulti, so on and so forth. But so far, if they're able to get up just a few core items, in particular on the Enchantress and the Necrophos, they're going to have a chance to just flat out survive these fights, and they will go with the CK to go with Io.
Yep, it's a safe pick, but Alliance is going to have a lot of trouble when it comes to 5-man phase of the game. Fnatic, with the Dragon Knight, the Bristleback, the Shadow Shaman, the Necrophos, they can take down towers and T1s and T2s alike very, very early on into the game. And in Alliance, they kind of need a lot of items or like a BKB on Storm and or Chaos Line if they want to meet that head on, or else we're just going to see them, just throw themselves against the 5-man and just die, and then the 5-man will just snowball, continue to win the game. So they need to be very careful about when they make their stand. If
Prepare
Fnatic
for
decides
battle.
to just 5-man barrel down mid lane.
Throwing it back to something you were talking about with the Timbersaw, and this kind of plays into CK as well, and you see situations like this come up. You're right in saying that the Timbersaw can do a significant amount of damage with or without items, but the items are what allow him to do damage and not die. It's those are the items that allow him to do damage and do consistent damage instead of running out of mana and so on and so forth. The issue that I can see coming up here is Fnatic's lineup is going to reach a point of maturation much faster than I feel like Alliance's is. Even down to the Storm Spirit played by S4. He really, really needs that orchid to feel like he's a maximum efficiency. Same thing with your CK. I mean, he can hook up with Io very soon and just try to kill his way to a decent amount of gold and a decent start. But you do want him to have some modicum of farm, maybe an armlet, maybe
30
some drums,
seconds
whatever,
to battle.
something
You're
like
going
that.
down.
But if you end up in a situation where one team matures a bit more than the other, especially when you have this much push potential on the side of Fnatic, it could end up being one of those games, and you see it all the time, where you have two heroes that are about half an item away from what they need to have to be able to fight, and in the meantime, they've lost every single router to your tower.
And introducing the lineups.
Taking a look, starting with Fnatic, as it doesn't seem like we'll
The
have any
battle
blood on the ground so
begins.
far. It'll be Fly, the captain, playing on our Shadow Shaman, with No Tail handling our Enchantress. Dragon Knight will be played in mid by the stand-in Demon. Necrophos going to be taken into the safe lane by the other stand-in, Owie 2000, and Trixie going to be heading into the off lane with that Bristleback. On the other side of the river, we got S4 taking Storm Spirit mid with Crystal Maiden, no surprise. See Ake handling him. Going to have Loda farming up to CK, and it will be some offensive tri-lane pressure. We talked about this during the draft and how the potential was there for it. Ake plus EGM on the Io, and Loda as mentioned, and Timbersaw going to be taken into the safe lane to farm by Admiral Bulldog.
Fly has to be extremely careful. He gets caught by a pull or Chaos Knight stun, he is very, very likely just going to feed an early first blood. So I think that Fnatic has their work cut out for them in the top lane. No Tail has to help ASAP if they want to get some sort of farm up on Owie and the Necrolite. In the mid lane, S4 versus Demon, both heroes should find a decent amount of farm. S4 has the decent advantage just because of the hero comp, but I don't expect Demon to die in the lane. Trixie versus Admiral Bulldog, I guess it's about a wash. Timbersaw actually has a Quelling Blade to help with the early last hits.
Yeah, Bulldog not one to take any chances, and he can certainly play the Timber, but not a hero he's known for, and wanting to make sure that he doesn't squander this opportunity to get off to a good start. And that's real important to them. I really like what they're doing to slow down that maturation process.
Oh, here comes the smoke with No Tail. He has a Satyr and a Centaur Conqueror, so they're pinging out. They want to kill EGM. They have a ward in the lane. They will know exactly where they are. Fly has not skilled anything yet, and they have to be very careful to not reveal the smoke. You notice he's on the bottom. Oh, there's a Centaur. They pop. They know. They know.
And EGM still hanging around for the moment. He's kind of caught a little bit here. There's one frostbite onto the Centaur and the quick tether up. No Tail stayed on the low ground, tried to send up the creeps to get the job done by himself, but unfortunately, bit of a missed opportunity. Alliance
And a free
dodges the bullet.
Centaur
Yep.
for Loda. That's very unfortunate for Fnatic there, but that was just great positioning by EGM. If he stands right here, there's no way that they can gang him with the smoke, unless they go behind the tower, but the creep boy's not even pushed up there. In the mid lane, S4 doing very well versus Demon. We see 12 and 6 compared to 5 and 2, so Demon suffering very, very heavily. He did get pulled one tango. He has his bottle, but still suffering very heavily in terms of farm.
And so far, this aggressive pressure in the tri-lane doing the job. We can even see No Tail having to come over with the Wildcat just to try and give some help. We're going to see a pull on the fly. Chaos Bolt follows it up. There's a Death Pulse to heal him. He's about half health, and they will not pursue it out. Still, a lot of damage done in exchange for a wee bit of mana. And I'm curious to see what EGM's going to do. And Ake, EGM in particular, though, did he just get a bottle? He did. And I've seen this done a number of times by a number of teams. It's very effective so long as you have great coordination. Just using that bottle to keep everyone in lane plus the aura from Crystal Maiden basically means you have bottomless mana, or at least it feels that way.
And they have a ward up on top. No Tail does not have another smoke, so they will see him with another Wildcat. But they're going to deal with yet another Tornado harass, and that thing is just so annoying as a tri-lane. He has to make sure that he doesn't position it too close to them, or else he'll just get frostbitten and or chaos bolted.
And the harass going down. The rest of the lane's remaining fairly quiet. We can see Trixie going toe-to-toe with Bulldog, 15-2 to Bulldog 16-4, so a rather close affair down there. But right here's where most of the work's getting done.
S4 in mid.
S4
He's
in
actually
mid.
getting right click down.
And Demon has enough for a Breathe Fire, and we'll go ahead and spend it. Demon bottling up. If he had waited, S4 was hanging around, he might have been able to Dragon Tail, then bottle, then Breathe Fire as he ran away. But unfortunately, not the case. S4 continues to hang around.
Yep, this 4-minute rune spawning very, very soon. Owie, ooh, he narrowly dodges a pull. They still have vision of him. Are they going to go for him? Loda.
Cutting through the trees, could not find him.
Where was the tree eat? I think he wanted to eat that tree, but he just did not get that off. 4-minute rune will spawn. It will be an invisibility rune on bottom. Admiral Bulldog's already heading there.
Bulldog will be able to snag it up. We'll see what he wants to do with it. Yep, he'll take it and go right back in the lane. S4 in the meantime, though, continuing to do work here in mid. He's a 23 CS to Demon 17, so Demon has closed the gap a little bit, but still a winning lane for them. More importantly, though, this Necrophos getting next to nothing done. He's got 7 CS only in the face of the 22.
He's getting experience, though.
Yeah, he's level 4.5, but at the same time, I mean, you take a look, you're almost level 3 on the supports and almost level 4 for Loda.
No Tail going down bottom, but they have an observer ward there to scout him out. And I think that he knows that they scout him out because they have this ward here to block both those spawns. No Tail will go to the big camp, though, S4.
And grabbing himself a Centaur. Top, a lot of pings happening. And No Tail, and this is the situation you don't want to be in if you're an Enchantress. You want to roam, but you have to be time efficient. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. S4 just hit level 6, so he will be able to get away if they invest too much into him.
Such a safe player. Notice that he knows that Enchantress is down there, stays on this side, so he has plenty of time to react so he doesn't get stun locked. The Dragon's Tail into his Centaur. Conqueror would almost spell his doom. Looks like he's going to actually go top, but Owie and Fly are nowhere even close to that T1 tower.
Attack.
They had a ward down and saw that he kept running all the way up past the rune spots, so not willing to take any chances there. Very quiet early game, 5.5 minutes in. Few kill attempts, but no kills notched yet. No Tail once again hanging around. Has a set of brown boots and not a whole lot else. Set of tangos on top. Taking a look at Trixie. He's already at level 6.5 though, and on his way to a Vanguard. Has a Ring of Health plus a Stout Shield. And looks like they might, they thought about it. Thought about diving on AUI, but his positioning just a little too good.
No Tail's doing a very good job of controlling them, so they can't actually go on them with the tornado threat. If you get cycloned, or if you get shackled at tower, you're probably going to die. So they have to be still a little bit careful, and the heal from Necrophos is going to be pretty difficult to deal with. And both of those heroes have magic stick in case they make a gank attempt. Owie is level 5 right now with that level 3 death pulse. I think that Demon could make a rotation if they also die of him. So Alliance has to be very, very scared. I'm surprised that they didn't get first blood earlier considering the offensive potential of their lane. Admiral Bulldog is doing very well on bottom. Trixie's out of mana, a little low on HP too.
And we could see Fly making his way out of lane. They will smoke. Very potent kill attempt coming. Level 2 Ether Shock with 1 point in the shackles.
Uh-oh, Aki.
Okay. Could be in some serious trouble if he gets spotted out. He's already withdrawing though. For the moment, should be safe. And yeah, they're taking their time doing this very methodically. But don't know they're going to get much out of it. Okay, might have been spotted there, saw the ping. Don't know that they want to take a chance and dive between a tier 1 and a tier 2 at this point.
He comes up the hill though.
Oh, they're thinking about it, waiting on it, hoping he decides to run back up that hill.
Uh-oh, they're surrounded.
And No Tail caught out, 2-second Chaos Bolt, now being beaten down. He's using Nature's Attendant's Fly in the meantime, getting some work done on the other side, and they end up trading away too. Alliance bringing first blood and adding another kill to it. Fnatic in a hole already.
Just great anticipation by Alliance, though. S4 just knowing that the gank is potentially coming, just standing in a very safe position with the CM behind them, and they know that both of the supports are missing on top. They even saw them group up, and just very fantastic rotation. 4-on-2 situation for them. Demon was nowhere close to help because he's all the way down the cliff, and that's just a very aggressive move by Fnatic, trying to dive in between the T1 and T2 in mid, and there's very, very little escape potential for them there.
S4 taking a lot of damage here and has to jump to get himself to safety. Actually still eating a little damage over time, but will be fine. And having to limp home to base, still a win going for Demon that time. Looks like we might have another kill attempt moving through the jungle. AUI and Fly, they got to get out right now. Loda sitting on his treads, his movement speed more than enough to track them down if they hesitate even a little bit. And there's AUI coming back in with the Death Pulse and gonna catch him with the Scythe, but it takes an Ether Shock to finish it out.
Yeah, that was actually fairly important that he got the mana, because now, or that he got the kill, because now he doesn't have any mana.
Phantasm, and we're gonna have the Reality Rift on the Demon. No stun, there it is. 4-second Chaos Bolt. He's locked down for a long time. And S4 not done. Grabs Fly, vortexes him back. Bulldog there to help clean up shop. Double kill for him. And the rest of Fnatic on the run, so they make their way onto the board, but feed 2 back in a hurry.
Alliance is just doing a very good job of not overextending. They haven't tower dove yet. They saw 2 squishy heroes over here, but didn't go for the kill. Just waited for Fnatic to come into them, waited for reinforcements in the form of S4 and Admiral Bulldog before choosing to engage. And they're just playing very, very smartly right now. Wisp almost level 6-2. This T1 tower is probably going to go down uncontested. There is a glyph coming out. No Tail is only level 3, and as much as he's done in the early game with the Wildkins and the harass, he hasn't actually been able to farm at all because of that.
And Bulldog not about to go home, using the Chakram and No Tail. Reality Rifted, 4-second Chaos Bolt, and Bulldog already on a killing spree, just 9.5 minutes in. Took us 5-6 minutes to get our first kills on the board, but now up to 6 in a hurry, and that's going to be a tower down in favor of Alliance as well. Fnatic already on the back foot. That's already an armlet out to go with the treads for loaded. This is not the situation you want to be in, but it's a CK and an IO you have to deal with.
Yeah, they actually don't have too much AoE to deal with the Phantasm images too, so once he gets stacked, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Bristleback is decently farmed though. He has his Vanguard as well as a Ring of Basilius, but nowhere near as farmed as Loda.
Down the bottom, Bulldog is retaking his station. Trixie has had some time to get some farm, get some levels. He's got a Vanguard. He's just a hair shy of level 9, but already, I mean, Alliance is just going to take control of this top lane and dare anyone to come up there. Going to fight them right now is basically a suicide mission, so long as they're in control of that jungle.
Loda's actually going for a very unusual build with the Phantasm pickup before level 9. Some people get it at level 10 with 1 level crit early, but S4 getting dove.
Shackled, following the Dragon Tail and the Hexen. That's a very nice kill for them to pick up.
It was so important for them to kill Storm Spear, but he did buy his quarter step before he dies, so not really any gold lost for him right there. Aoi still trying to work on his mech, but he is quite a bit away. He's forced to go Trez for the extra HP. Looks like they may dive Aki too. He's in a very compromising position. Demon with his second illusion rune is able to put a lot of pressure up on this T1, but with Storm Spear reviving in just 10 seconds time. Ooh, Aoi.
2-second Chaos Bolt and a beat down in the jungle again. Trixie wants to re-engage.
He has relocate.
EGM making a run for it. And Trixie just so tanky already because of that Vanguard.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Heads on out, and Loda's going to head on out as well. EGM will be going back, and Trixie
Radiant's middle
going to
tower
go ahead and
has
bail out
fallen.
mid. We still have a fight. Demon
Dire's bottom tower
cut down,
is under
caught
attack.
out. Came into a bad situation. Trixie's there again, though, and ready to continue the fight here in mid. Bulldog throws the Chakram, and basically just playing point man. Loda's going to re-engage, and the Hex interrupts the Reality Rift. There's a jump in from S4. They're going to try to take this fight. Phantasm popped, and there's the Reaper's Scythe. However, they end up trading 3 for 1 and make it 4 as Trixie, tanky, oh, hang on. That didn't have quite enough health. That's another double kill going the way of Admiral Bulldog, and No Tail left limping on back to base, 10-3. And, you know, I feel like Fnatic's not doing a terrible job of taking fights. I do feel like they're making the mistake Alliance is not, as you so accurately pointed out. They're just hanging around and overextending and trying to do too much at once.
Yeah, another fight taken close to Alliance's towers. When Demon died last time, he was 1 screen away from the T1. Same deal here. He just died out just way too close to the tower without too much backup of his own. They need a mech on Necrophos if they want any hope of keeping Demon alive, or a BKB up on him. He's still quite a bit a ways, but Alliance has also been doing a very good job of capitalizing on Fnatic's slightly out of position too, or poor positioning. Storm Spirit being able to jump onto over here, and then the Timber Burst onto just led to that fight going terribly wrong for Fnatic.
Bulldog and Ake looking for a target here in mid. Demon, Sans escape mechanism will wisely pull back just as the creeps are cleared. Loda, in the meantime, has gone farming with EGM. With EGM now not just level 6.
They have a ward. They can kill Fly, like right now if they wanted to with Loda and EGM. They probably need 1 more person up there. S4 looks like he's on the way, but Fly needs to get back.
And yep, we see it being pinged. And they're going to jump right on him. Here comes the relocate. AUI gets the hell out of Dodge. That's a lost cause if ever there was one, and he knew it.
Dire's middle tower is under
Abandoning his
attack.
friend to the meat grinder there. Trixie's hanging out waiting on their return. But yeah, now they're just going to go back to farming. And this is the problem they're going to face, is now they're so far ahead and map control is sufficiently theirs, especially with now Bulldog having a Bloodstone, so he can just start to feel like that immovable mass that is Timbersaw in the mid game. They're just going to be able to farm
There's smoke
Loda.
coming out too.
Even Trixie is taking a lot of damage from Loda right now. And he's got a lot of help on the way. They're going to try to pursue him out, but 2 stacks of the goo, not enough. And No Tail could be in some trouble. There we go. Converged upon by Alliance.
Demon might get caught out too.
And moving his way, he will be spotted by the ward, but doesn't look like they're that interested. And poor AUI,
Dire's
still
bottom
working
tower
on
is
that
under
mech, man.
attack.
Still working away.
They haven't been able to just 5-man. I think if they just 5-man grouped up before they started pushing, I think it would have worked out a lot better for them, because technically they have the stronger 5-on-5. With the Necrophos heal,
Dire's
with
bottom
Dragon Knight
tower
being able
is
to
under
throw out his
attack.
stun every 9 seconds, it's pretty strong. But one big problem for them is that their supports are really under-leveled right now. Still level 5 on Shadow Shaman, as well as the Enchantress, 15 minutes into the game. Compare that to Crystal Maiden and EO, level 7 and 8 respectively. And, I mean, those
Dire's
ultimates are
bottom
very,
tower
very
is
big.
under attack.
Is a big deal too. Shadow Shaman with his Mass Serpent Ward and being able to burst people down with impetus is going to prove to be invaluable if he can get it at a reasonable pace.
Fnatic going to smoke up, try to get this game turned around before it gets out of hand. Taking a look at the goal graph, we can see it's about 7,500 to the advantage of Alliance,
Dire's
and
middle
Roshan
tower
would
is
certainly
under
help, but that's the
attack.
plan. They're also 7,500 experience behind, and this will help. Moving in, so far.
They ping it out though, they know.
Yep. Of it. That was Loda pinging it. And here comes Bulldog. Roshan about half health, No Tail on the high ground. Chakram spots them out. They're sticking with it, and Bulldog actually goes up high. In the meantime, though, they're going to re-engage as S4 moves in. Here comes Loda going to work. Roche just about to drop. There's a Reaper Scythe on Ake, does not get the kill. In the meantime, it's snatched. Loda got the Aegis, picked it up, and a huge turnaround goes the way of Alliance. A double kill for Loda, a double kill for the dog, and now AUI going to make it a full 5-man wipe. Triple kill for Bulldog, double kill for Loda, and you know what? How about an Aegis on top of it? Not a bad day's work.
Man, Alliance, just really great awareness right there. Knowing that their heroes are like huddled around mid, and hey, kind of, they're probably going to do Roshan because that's the only way they can get back into the game. Or smoke ganking as 5, but smoke ganking as 3 is just not terribly common and not terribly effective considering the way that Alliance has been grouping up and considering the fact that they have the relocate on Wisp. too. So they scouted that out like almost immediately and was able to fully capitalize on Fnatic's Roshan attempt.
And Loda eating a lot of damage there, but the jump from S4 gets 1 kill, and here comes Bulldog, ready to do some damage. Loda toggling the armlet, getting work done. Reality Rift on the AUI, trying to track him down. Demons breathe fire, not feeling nearly as potent as it once did. No tail caught with a 4-second Chaos Bolt. Loda loses the Aegis, but that's a godlike streak for Admiral Bulldog, and Trixie left to limp back home. EGM, and they're going to Reality Rift Demon. Demon panicked, breathed fire, and didn't get a whole lot done because of it. And in the meantime, Bulldog continuing to dive out. Trixie might have bitten off a bit more than he cared to, but with EGM there to help out, he will end up surviving a failed Tier 3 dive. Tier 2 does still stand, and right now Alliance, I think, just having some fun. There's a cheeky Centaur Stomp, and it might end up getting Bulldog killed, and it will. So very nice play from No Tail. Having a Centaur in the right place.
He's already revived, though, with BOTs. He's going to be right back in the fight.
And they're continuing to try to chase this out. Currently, after that death, still has 10 charges on his Bloodstone. That's how unbelievably ahead Bulldog is. And now jumping right back on him, No Tail blown up. Fly, next on the list. Looks like they're not going to try to pursue it out too much. But AUI, not so fortunate. Going to die under his own tower. And at this point, basically, anytime Fnatic is spotted, they have to scatter.
Yeah, this game is just getting uglier and uglier. 10,000 gold lead for Alliance, a 17 kill advantage for them. Aegis has been taken by them, and I mean, they are just snowballing like crazy. Trixie will be the next to fall.
So much damage coming out, even though he's doing some damage back.
Is under attack.
Only so much survivability. Here's a reach-in rune. He does manage to take it, but miss on the Timber Chain, but S4's there to put together a killing spree of his own. Let's take a look at where Alliance stands. 10-1 on Admiral Bulldog right now. Loda unblemished at 4-0, 4-2 for S4 out of mid, 3-1 on EGM's IO, and quietly a 1-0-8 performance out of Ake.
Yep, when you have to rebirth Crystal Maiden, you know things are not going very well for your team.
Usually a good indication.
I don't really think that Fnatic did too poorly either in the early game. Like, No Tail prevented Alliance from getting a very early first blood on the lane on top. I don't necessarily think their draft was that poor too, because you can see where they're trying to go with it. Early game control with Enchantress, and then into a 5-man snowball push with Dragon Knight, the Necrolite, and the Shadow Shaman. But they just never got to that point.
And Fnatic able to ward Alliance away at least for a little while. Roche still with about 4 minutes left on him. And then we'll find out how much bonus time we have until he's back up. Demon, in fairness, has been doing okay. We see the Orchid out on S4, and in the meantime, yeah, Demon actually picks up a Blink Dagger.
He sold all his items to get a Blink Dagger. I think Blink Dagger Dragon Knight is a little bit underrated. He's not really a hard carry. He's mostly just there for utility and just being annoying. He does some damage with the splash, but the amount of times that professional players group up for the splash is going to be very, very rare.
Right. He's a hero I've always kind of labeled an anchor hero. You know, he just anchors your fight. You have to deal with him. And here we go. Moving in, and No Tail going to be blown up. Trixie in the meantime doing what damage he can. Ether Shock doing good damage. AUI in some trouble. Down go the Wards. Demon going to work as best he can, but a triple kill for Loda once again, and Trixie.
You can hear the Fnatic yelling, Ake, kill Ake, and they pinged on him, and they got up, and GG. They got what they came for.
And Ake ends up dead. And, you know, I think that's the first time as a Dota broadcaster I've ever had a player shout louder than I did. And, like, visibly and audibly louder, even though...
They look happy. They're pleased. They accomplished their objective.
20 minutes and 12 seconds, all the time it took for Alliance to close out Game 1. Fnatic playing down 2 men with 2 stand-ins, and, well, it's going about as you would expect on this stage. Demon and AUI continue to struggle, and Fnatic now 1 game away from elimination, as this is our lower bracket semifinals. So, Ben, what if nothing else? I mean, when we look at Fnatic, we do see flashes of brilliance. Like you said, I didn't mind their draft at all. I really didn't. But it just feels like they're having such a hard time actually gelling together to make these lineups work the way they want.
Yeah, I mean, they just never get to that phase of the game that their laning stage is like, I wouldn't say it's that weak. It's just not strong enough.
Right.
It's just like average, I suppose, and they really need it to be like stellar, which is how they usually play. But you know, things just didn't work out too well. Like Demon got caught out a couple times without his team. Aoi, he wasn't able to find his farm. He wasn't able to save his teammates, and they're just not on the same page in positioning wise and just gameplay strategy wise. So it's slightly unfortunate for them, but they're trying their best to make things work. They got Aki.
Yes, they did get Aki. Sometimes you got to take the moral victories, right, guys? Anyway, game 1 of our final best of 3 is done. What could be the final game of the evening here on the HyperX D2L Grand Finals coming up, maybe to close day 1. Fnatic, though, doubt they want it to end that way. They want to force a game 3, and I'm sure they want to keep
The crowd's
their
chanting
run
Meepo.
alive. Meepo? I want to see it, too.
I want to see it, too.
How can you not want to see it?
How can he lose with Meepo?
I mean, it's no joke. I mean, what are you doing? But we'll find out if it's going to be Meepo, if it's going to be Alliance or Fnatic. We don't know. Coming up, Game 2, HyperX D2L, Fnatic, Alliance, me, Ben, and you. See you in a bit.